Welcome to another episode of Notes and Notables with your host, Jordan Petrie. Let's get ready to dive into another day's worth of educational topics. So come on in, take a seat, school is in session.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to 2025. This is our first episode of Notes and Notables. I am the host, Trenton Petrie. I am here with my co-host, Abbey, and then we also have two guests today, both choir directors, Miss Courtney and Evan Burden, choir directors. Thank you all for joining us today. Appreciate it. Thanks. So we're going to just go ahead and get right into it. This is our first episode of the new year, and the first time I've actually had we're all in the band hall here. All four of us are kind of sitting around this long table with all these cords. It's ridiculous. It almost looks like we're professionals here. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is we're just going to talk about a little bit about choir and setting that up. And so we'll start with, I don't really know which one of you wants to take this, but we're going to start with the first grading period with beginner choir kids. Can you just elaborate a little bit on how you set up your class, what your kids are doing in those first 9 weeks leading up to like our fall break?
So the biggest grade that they have is they're getting their handbook signed, which seems really silly, but if you let it go, you'll find yourself in UIL season then like, oh my gosh, you never signed the contract or you had a missing signature. So we start with the handbook. Super fun, but got to get it done.
Is it a grade?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a test grade, and we just keep, it's either a 0, you got every single signature correct, or, it's either a 0, if you miss one signature, or it's 100. There's no, it's a completion grade, and that way you're not ever in a bind when you realize later on in the year, oh my gosh, we have this field trip tomorrow, and I still haven't gotten this parent signature, and they can't go with us, so. Did you create the handbook, or was it already here when you started working here? It was already here, and I've been kind of slowly changing it over the years.
I feel like we need to do that because I haven't used one in forever.
Yeah, I need to revamp it. When I took over the program, I didn't want to just come in and start, with just all my own stuff. So I took what was already there and kind of edited it. That's not all we do, though, but that's just the first main grade. And so and it gets parents' attention if, I cannot get a hold of the parent, and I've been, obviously getting on school status, calling. I'll have the kids call in class, over and over and over again, leading up to that first progress report that does not affect academic eligibility, but then it gets on a parent who's hard to reach. It gets on their radar. Hey, why does my kid have a 0 in choir? And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you called me back. Here you go. And then you don't have to worry about it.
So So just kind of take us through the first few weeks of beginner choir as far as instruction. What are y'all doing and how you go about doing it?
Yeah, so in the first week or so, we focus a lot on team building activities, getting them comfortable going from a 5th grade campus to the 6th grade campus normally, playing a lot of review games, getting them comfortable with each other to build that team foundation. And then we go straight into review and then unison singing, trying to build good technique, good tone, focusing on accurate rhythm chanting, sight reading, and that's our main focus for the first couple weeks as we prepare for getting ready for our first fall concert for the year, and then we build from there as we go on in the year.
Also, just so everybody knows, right now I only have 2 sets of headphones. I'm wearing one, and Evan's wearing the other one, and he has already had a disdain for his own voice, and so I don't know why he decided to wear one, but now he's stuck wearing that headphones, and now he's just stuck hearing himself talk, which will be really weird when he hears himself talk on the podcast. Ooh, wow, it's almost like a third person.
Yeah, no, it is a very, very different experience being the listening part of it.
Yes, I can definitely concur. The first time I heard, I was like, that's what I sound like? And every once in a while I go, oh, look, there's a little Texas twang right there. There it is, depending on what word I sing. Okay, cool. And then I'm assuming with the older kids, y'all are working on kind of the same stuff, but then you have to throw in region stuff and all that kind of stuff?
Yes. So with that, we'll start voicing to figure out if the students' voices have changed. We'll pull them aside one at a time and listen to them and get their kind of highest note and lowest note, figure out which voice part that they are going to be most competitive on for region choir, and then just getting started on that process.
And can you elaborate just for a second on how your classes are split with the older kids, just so everybody who's listening can understand how our choir is set up as far as who's in what class and parts wise and all that kind of stuff?
So we have our 6th grade choirs, and then we have our non-varsity girls and our non-varsity tenor bass and treble choir. That is people that have either not been in choir before, that are a 7th and 8th grader and want to try, or maybe their skills are not ready to be in the varsity group yet. And then we have our varsity men and our varsity treble, or the girls, and they are students who have been in choir before and have a high enough level of sight reading skills to be in that class.
And the 6th grade classes are, you have a boys' 6th grade class and a girls' 6th grade class, correct?
Yes, currently we do.
Okay, cool. So so that's how choir starts here. You know, I know there's plenty of different ways that people do it around. I know there's probably junior high choirs that have mixed choir classes. We haven't had one in the 12 years that I've worked here that I know of. Oh, we did?
We
When?
did. One, was that Evan's first
Oh yeah,
year?
my first year we did a SAB group for UIL.
Okay.
So yeah, we took them to
But we
UIL
did
that
How
year.
combine
long-
the varsity men and women.
How long have you been here?
This is going on year 3.
Year 3, and how long have you been
5.
here? 5. Okay, so we've got Courtney's been here 5 years. Evan's been here 3 years. Abbey, this is her first year here, and this is my 12th year. So I'm the old guy, apparently, and I'm not even that old. Okay, but I'm not as old as some people. Cool. All right, so when we get back, we are going to kind of discuss a little bit on how we go about selecting music versus choir and band. So stick with us, and we'll be back in just a second. All right, and we're back. We're going to dive in a little bit to how we pick music both in band and choir. Here at Bonnet, we've already discussed, we have a 6th grade boys and 6th grade girl choir, and then we have a non-varsity boys and a non-varsity girls choir, and then we have a varsity boys choir and a varsity girls choir, which we call here the chorale. And then in the band world, we have our beginner band, and then our symphonic band, and then which is our non-varsity, and our top band, which is the wind ensemble. So I know from a band perspective, when Abbey and I are picking music for our groups for fall concert, we always try to err a little bit on the easier side, because Lord knows they haven't done anything, at least with our music practicing instruments, all summer long, and so trying to pick music that's a little bit on the easier side to see what they can do, to kind of see how they rehearse and do all that kind of stuff. And then normally I will increase the difficulty level for Christmas, and then UIL. By the time I get to UIL, and both of us, we did this, and y'all probably the same. You kind of figure out who your strengths are, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and then kind of what pieces fit the group as far as and it's hard, because sometimes I look at a piece and I go, man, I really want to play that piece, because it's a fun piece to teach, it's a fun piece to learn, and then I go, oh wait. My French horns can't do that, or my trombones, I don't have enough of this instrument, or they can't do. So dang it, save it for next year. But what is y'all's process when picking choral music for y'all's groups?
Yeah, so when we start in the beginning year, definitely going for that simple, easier approach, making sure we can reassess, making sure where their strengths are, what we can work with, especially for the boys. Voices change a lot over the summers, going from 6th grade, 7th grade, 7th grade to 8th grade.
Hi, my name's Johnny. Hi, my name's Johnny.
Yeah. So reassessing where we have, what parts we have, who we have more of, who we have more tenors, more basses, and then going into UIL, for the boys, for me specifically, I always try to pick stuff that's going to be fun for them to learn, fun for them to teach. And we had a piece that we've been wanting to do for, I think, 2 years now, and we're going to do it, and then it's too low for the tenor, so we readjusted and picked a different piece. So we've all been in that spot of I really want to do this piece, but it's not the time for it.
We thought we could transpose it, and we started it, and I was like, burn it. We only
Just
rehearsed
burn it to the ground.
They downloaded it, and I think we told them to delete it.
Yeah,
very next
we
day.
deleted
2
it
days
the
later,
next
I was like,
day.
this isn't, because when we raised it, it was too high then for the basses,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
never mind.
we've had to take parts from some instruments
Yeah.
and rewrite them, or give them to another part, or our music is good about, some composers are good about writing cues in other parts, so that way you could be in one of my pieces, the flutes play a part, but the saxophones have have it in cues, and so I just have the saxophones playing it to try to beef up that part a little bit. But that's, I mean, band directors do that all the time, and I'm sure orchestra and choir directors just like you rewrite it. Because I mean, I saw a post on Facebook on one of the band director pages where it was like a person was asking, if I change something in the piece, will I get docked for it at contest? And they were like, and all the responses were pretty much the same. If you write it in all the scores, then it makes it obvious that no, that was a planned thing to do. But most of the time, they're not, unless you're changing like the integrity or the character of the piece. They're not really going to care too much, at least from what I've gathered to that.
That's interesting. It's different for us. I do that a lot with our songs, like for the fall concert or for the winter concert to make it work, but we have to perform it as written. We might be able to get away with having like the sopranos double the altos or having, the tenors double the basses, but we can't change stuff that's written in the music for the actual contest.
Yeah, when I say change, it's like if, for instance, if the flutes have a melody and the clarinets are just sitting there resting, then I can write out the melody for clarinets, and so the clarinets can also play the melody, because I haven't really changed the rhythm or the integrity of the piece. I've just added people to it, to both. And normally you're going to do something like that if the section is A, small, or B, they're not as confident, and they would be confident with more friends playing that part. I've done that a lot in sections where I only have a very few, like French horn or alto saxophone or something like that, where you only have 2 or 3 or 4 kids versus like trumpet where you have 8. Like she's got 8 trumpets in symphonic band. We don't need to rewrite anything for them because they got enough problems as it is.
Plenty of them.
Yeah, there's plenty of them. Yeah, now flute world for her, she has 4 flutes. We started with 2 and then we got it up to 4. And so, that would be something, with the amount of clarinets that she has and oboes, we can write something if necessary for the flute players. So that way those 4 poor flute girls have some extra friends helping them along with that, with their part.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So when y'all are picking, we're all in agreement here that we start a little bit start a little bit easier on the music. And then Veterans Day, we ain't talking about that. And then Christmas, do y'all kind of ratchet up the intensity level a little bit as far as like the music? Like, hey, we played, just for example, hypothetically, a grade 0.5 for the fall. Then now we're going to do a 1 and then just kind of go up. Do y'all kind of step up like that and go up?
So I want to add something about what we were just talking about. We have in choir what's called cross voicing.
Okay.
And so I rewrote part of one of our UIL songs where the sopranos were supposed to stay below the altos for a significant amount of time. And I was like, we're not going to do that. And so we rewrote it to where they're looking at a different part. But they don't know that, but I've switched what they are singing. So that's how we kind of get away with modifying the music like y'all do. But yes, so in the fall, like Evan said, our goal is to keep it simple so that the concert is successful. It's really important that they have a great first performing experience. You don't want it to be so hard that they walk off the stage like, man, that was not very good. You want them to feel excited about performing. My main focus for the fall concert is tone, getting them to sing out, working on how they sound, their vowel placement and shapes, and then some, theory things and music literacy. You want to pick music in class in the fall that is not easy, but easy enough to work on those specific goals while also starting music literacy so that they're ready to do the harder stuff for Christmas and for UIL. So then at Christmas, that's my favorite concert. I say that about every performance.
I love every
concert.
performance.
Yeah, this is my favorite song. This is my favorite performance. But I love picking Christmas music specifically, and so I'll pick things that are more challenging than the fall concert, but and things that I think that are exciting for them. And then what we also will typically do is we try to program at least one fallback piece, especially if there's a group that we're worried about. Last year we took an additional non-varsity choir, and we were nervous about it, so we had them do one of their pieces that they did really well on the winter concert for UIL. So we started trying to teach them another piece, and we were like, gosh, they're just going to be so much better on this other song, and so we pulled that back up.
So is there any, restrictions on when you can start UIL music in choir?
No.
Okay, because, for us, if you're going to do like honor band, then we can't start until December 1st. But if you're not, then you can do it. You can do it whatever. You can start whenever you want.
By honor band, do you mean like TMEA?
Yeah.
Submissions?
Yeah.
Like, there is some kind of rule for that, but I don't think for UIL.
Yeah. But like for us, TMEA and UIL kind of, I don't want to say talk to one another on that, because there's been people around the state that have brought this up, like, because for honor band, for TMEA honor band, you don't have to submit until like the end of May, like that's the deadline, or early June, and so that's for everybody. But the start date for everybody is also December 1st, which is fine if your UIL is in April. But those of us like us we're so early, we don't really have, and it's tougher on us to take a grade 3 or 4 or 5, good Lord, and try to work it up from December 1st to March 1st, basically 2 months, basically with all the breaks and whatnot that you have, versus a school that they can start on December 1st, but they don't go to UIL until April, whatever. And I don't care what anybody says. As soon as UIL is over, those kids, like their intensity level as players goes down a little bit, and so like those schools that have UIL late, they can keep that intensity, because that's the carrot that they're just dangling in front, like, oh no, we still got UIL in a couple weeks, in a month or whatever. But whereas us, it's just like, good Lord, like it's already over. And so, I know last year I had to put the UIL pieces away for about a week or two and do something completely different to bring it back. But like UIL has come out and said, no, we're still, or TMEA has come out and said, no, we're still going to make it December 1st. And because everybody's submission date is the same. And so technically you could keep working on it. But normally you're going to submit for honor band whatever you did for UIL, because that's what you spent the most time on. But, so I don't know. I get it, but at the same time, I wished it was either different for those who had UILs earlier in the UIL season, because of that very fact that the kids are like they can stay mentally engaged a little bit longer, because that carrot of, hey, you still have UIL to go, whereas us and Pasadena and LaPorte and everybody else kind of around here that we go to UIL with, we're all done, and so those kids are kind of like, well, I don't have to try as hard, and you have to kind of butter them up a little bit more to keep them trying. So
that's interesting. I have not looked into submitting for TMEA, so I'm curious to look that up. What our rule?
Yeah, there's like, I mean, you can't have any sort of digital alterations to your music and stuff like that. I mean, it's got to be very much like, hey, you sing or you play, and then here's your thumb drive with the concert, just go turn that in, basically. I mean, you can I think you can do a little bit of audio engineering to it. Like if you get it back and you notice that the volume of the ensemble is really, really like low, because maybe the microphones were turned way down or something, you can have an audio engineer boost it up or whatever. But you can't like take multiple takes on a piece or a movement, or even a movement. It's got to be like one take and go on everything. So that's kind of, a little bit kind of, not frustrating. Anxiety level kind of goes up a little bit when, you're getting ready to record and you're like 1, 2, ready to go. God, I hope it goes well, because we can't stop and start over,
Yeah, true for most performances, but
yeah. Well, you say that my freshman year at Deer Park, we had to start I was in the freshman band, and we had to start one of our Christmas pieces over like 3 times, because we could not come in at the right time. We couldn't start the piece at the right time. It started with like clarinet and tuba, and like a couple of other instruments, and like he got up there and just waved his arms, and nobody did anything. And so he did it again, and like I played, but the tuba player didn't. And he was like, and so we did it a 3rd time. I didn't play, the tuba player did, and he's like, this is embarrassing. And then, this was back when this was in like 2000 and fall of 2002, I think, or something like that. And then we finally got it started, but I was like, and then I'll tell you, I wasn't there to witness it, but I do know at TMEA a few years ago, Frank DeKelly was one of the band clinicians, and they started the piece, and I'll be dang, he stopped the piece and turned around to the audience and said, we're gonna try that again. I think they can do that
Is
better.
that the All-State clinician?
Yeah.
Like the high school All-State band?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he stopped their performance. He stopped their
Wow.
performance and was like, and turned around and was like, they've only been playing this music like 4 days. They can do that again. It's okay because it was his piece, and they did it again, and it was much better the second time or whatever. And it's just like, man, they even at the top of the top, because those all state groups are no joke. I'd put our all state groups up, band, choir, orchestra, up against any other state, and I think we would win.
Oh yeah, for sure. No
So.
offense, Evan, but I don't know what the
I also would put
Yeah.
Texas up against
And
anyone else.
Evan, tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from the great state of Ohio.
Ohio.
Yeah, he won't quit
Ohio.
complaining about this cold weather, and I'm like, aren't you used to isn't this why you moved here?
I'm
Not
Texas
used to
by
it?
fire.
Yeah, Texas. Yeah, yeah. Evan. Apparently doesn't like the cold. I love the cold weather. This weather is
do
great
too.
for me.
He really does.
I
This is my
always
time of year.
I always just bundle up, because you can always take keep adding layers. But when it's 115 degrees, which is terrible, you can only take so much off before you get arrested.
He
You
used
know.
to get like sunburn just like walking outside of the car.
Yeah.
He'd be like,
No,
"I
I'd have to get reminders for sunscreen
Yes.
every day
I had to
because
give him
I
a
get
couple like
burned.
Texas survival skills when he got here.
God,
Goodness.
No, because when I moved here in the middle of July, and then it was
Lovely.
like
Welcome.
100 degrees when we were trying to carry everything upstairs, and it was not a great time.
He got sunburned walking from. We went out to eat, and then we walked to the convention for the summer TCDA, and he literally got sunburned like from the restaurant to the thing. And I was like, so we actually, or I do, I put sunscreen on every day. And
boo.
maybe we have
Texas
to-
during the summer is not for the weak.
Totally doesn't have to do with music,
Yeah.
but I think it's
No. It's just it's funny. So are there any like specifics that y'all look at? And Abby, you can answer too. Now that you've done this for like your official, this is Abby's, like, this is her first year with her own band at Bonnet, where she is like in control of, and so she was picking music. And so for the three of you, and anyone can answer, just butt in. Is there any specific things that you are looking for when you are picking music for UIL purposes, for our main thing that we do?
I personally like to go through when listening to music and find stuff that's not overly done, find stuff that's exciting.
Do you like to play new stuff or sing new stuff?
Yeah, I like
really
to
good at
I like
finding
to
interesting
find new music. I like to find very interesting pieces that are kind of off the wall, things that the judges probably haven't heard a lot before.
Which
either
can
off
be
the-
a benefit.
Yeah. A lot of the pieces we found for UIL like this year, or like for our 6th grade choirs, are pieces I haven't heard before, but pieces we listened to for the first time. Like, wow, that's actually really exciting. Going to be a good contrast piece, or something that's going to be really exciting for us to teach as teachers, and something exciting for them to learn as students. And that's a really big thing that I look for personally, because I don't want to be bored while I'm teaching it. And I know
Right.
if I'm bored while I'm teaching it, they're going to be bored
Absolutely.
while they're learning it.
I concur 100%. So what Abby, I mean, I know that, like I said, this is your first time to really pick UIL music for a band and having experience doing that. So what was your process and your mindset going through picking UIL music?
Well, I had a lot of trial and error earlier in the year, because our first fall concert, I tried to pick a piece. I think it was a grade 1, but it was just simply too hard for them.
It was a very complex grade 1 piece.
Yeah, it wasn't. There was not a lot of unison lines, and it was just lots of individual playing. And coming out of the summer, where a lot of them are 7th graders, half of my group is 7th graders, and so they just got finished with their beginner year, and then the rest of them probably didn't practice over the summer, so it just wasn't the best choice. And so we found stuff that was a lot more unison, that could build those skills. And same thing with the Christmas concert. We I did choose one that was a little on the, I guess, a little more difficult side, and we did have a lot of time to work on it, whereas like the fall concert was like only a month and a half or
Yeah, and
so
you're also
in.
trying to like teach them how to like be a student again
Yeah.
for the first 9 weeks.
So I did that. I guess it's kind of like scaffolding. We ended up playing some pretty easy Randall Standridge stuff for the fall concert, and then just took it up a little bit for the Christmas concert. And now for UIL, so far they're reading pretty well.
Yeah, they've read. She's doing a we try to do one either 6/8 or cut time piece a year per group. And so for UIL, she's doing a 6/8, an introductory. It's kind of like an introductory 6/8 piece. So it only has like 3 or 4 different rhythm sets.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And so like it's super easy. But it's on the grade 1. And we were talking about this the other day, and I really want to do this over the summer if it's not already out there. But in choir world on y'all's music, is y'all's music on a 1 to 5 grade as far as like 1 being easy and 5 being like top choir at high school type stuff?
Yes, except for solo and ensemble. For some reason, it's different.
Right, but for concert
Yes,
music,
for UIL,
okay.
yes.
Do y'all feel like in the choir world that with each grade there's like easy grade 1s,
Yes.
range.
Yes.
middle
Yes.
grade 1s,
Yes.
hard grade 1s, and then, because we were talking and she's playing these 2 pieces and they're both grade 1s, the 6/8 piece, Ready the Castle, and the Oncoming Storm, and they are not equal. They are equal and
Not
they are
at all.
grade 1s, but they are not equal.
I
And,
totally agree.
and it's just like how, and and it's you just take 2 pieces and you're going, how are these both a 2? How are these both a 1? Like they're not even like this one
Or
has
there's a
way
grade
more
2
notes.
That's like easier than the grade 1,
Yeah.
and they
That's
made
me
it a grade
this year.
2.
Exactly.
They made it a grade 2 because there's meter changes.
yeah.
But if you teach it right, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
And there's this grade 1 that you're like,
Right. Or
I
there-
can't do this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I picked out Bazaar and Danza de España, which Danza de España is a 2 and Bazaar's a 1. But when you just look at them, Bazaar has way more notes, and it goes way faster. There's way more percussion. There's just more stuff going on, and then you go, okay, cool. It's about style for Danza, and maybe it's a little bit longer too, And it's like, but again, if you just teach the style correctly, then that's because technically speaking, musically speaking, technically speaking, Danza's easier than Bazaar, even though it's the 2 and not the 1, and it's just like even my flute teacher, when she came after downstage a week or so ago, last Monday or whatever it was, and she was like, man, that Bazaar piece is way more notey than Danza. And I was like, yeah, I know. And I go, that's the grade 1. And she was like, really? Wow, that she was kind of like surprised that piece with all those notes and rhythms and fast, and it's a lot of chromatic notes because it's like Middle Eastern flair type music and those sounds. So you have a lot of flats and sharps and accidentals, and Danza's not that. It's very straightforward. I mean, I think for the first 19, 20 measures, the low brass play 1 of 2 notes, and that's it. They play more notes than that in 1 measure of Bazaar. And so it's. We were just talking about that the other day, and I wanted to see if it was just band or if it was the same in
Yes.
choir world.
my biggest gripe is there'll be a grade 1 piece, and you're like, okay, this is perfect for my non-varsity group, and like it starts out and you're listening to it and you pull it and then you're like, this is 160 measures long. This is like a very long song.
You could have
What?
ended this 20 measures ago.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm like, what choir is going to be able to have like the stamina to get through this? and all
Especially the
words and
stamina,
memorizing
the
it?
focus. That's like there's a boys piece where the men of the chorus that's on the grade 2 list.
There's our
That
bell.
like the end of it is like the last page of it is the part that probably makes it a grade 2, but the rest of it is really, really straightforward. And I thought it was a grade 1 for a long time. We actually looked, it was a grade 2, and I was more surprised that it was a grade 2 than just because of the last page. But it's stuff like that.
Yeah, and I just find it funny how, like you were saying about the grade 1 choir piece that's 160 measures, and it's like, think about who's singing that. Who's going to be singing?
Exactly. I'm like, who are you writing this for?
Yeah, like the people that are going to be writing that or singing that, are they going to have the stamina to be able to do that and to be able to sing for 160 measures at the tempo that you're asking and all that kind of stuff? Because obviously, if it's a grade 1 piece, you're probably writing it for either a junior high band or a choir or any level, whereas a varsity or non-varsity, or because we're 2C, so whatever that means for y'all. And so it's kind of just interesting how that happens.
And back to what we talked about earlier, I'll take a grade 1 that's like way too long like that and cut it for a concert, for a fall concert or a Christmas concert, and edit it to kind of help prepare them.
Especially if it's just repeating material.
Yeah.
If there's like a giant repeat. I mean, I've done a march. Yeah, absolutely. I've done a march where the
We don't need to hear it again.
back half of the march was repeated, but at the end of the piece it says repeat if you want to, if necessary. So you could just play it one time through, and so that's what I did at UIL because I was like, because I had a high school director come in and go, why would you play it again? Like you've already played it and nothing's changed. Like there's no dynamic contrast, there's no color change. You're literally playing half the piece basically twice. And so that gives the judge more opportunities to go, well, you didn't do it the second time, that you did the first time. It didn't, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, yeah, you're right. And it even says optional repeat. We're going to take the not optional stop, but yeah, I mean, sometimes, I'll be listening to a piece in the office and I'm going, man, this piece sounds great. Okay. Why am I still listening to this piece? This piece could have ended 30 seconds ago. Oh, there's the tag. Oh, just kidding. Here's the second tag. What are we doing? And who are you writing this for? Because our kids are not going to have the same endurance, playing or singing as like high school kids to just be able to keep going and going and going, especially like non-varsity kids. And now y'all deal with a lot of non-varsity kids. They're going to have even less. And so what they're having to do, it needs to be, more streamlined and straightforward than, what varsity level bands are doing. And what we have to do has to be more streamlined than what ninth graders are doing, and so, but
especially on our a cappella songs, I'm like, ooh, the shorter the better, because if they have to stay like in tune, and then we'll listen to like an a cappella song that's over 100 measures. And
And
like,
it's way too long. And then the trap is falling into something that's too short. We did that last year. We're like, hey, this is a perfect song for them, but it's too short, and the judge is like, that wasn't perfect. So it's like, it's picking your battles with like finding one that's just the right
We were very
thing.
unimpressed with that song, but it was very frustrating because if they knew like how hard we had to work to get it
To get
that,
the non-varsity
but it's
girls
fine.
to where we got them was a big struggle, but they worked it and they got there. But the acapella piece always for the non-varsity girls, I feel, is one of my biggest challenges to pick every year.
I really dislike whenever a judge will make a comment like that. It's like, it's on the list. I didn't just pull this out of thin air. It's on the list. It's like listed as a grade 1, so we don't really need to comment on how short it was, where you could have picked something harder. And I'm like, we could have.
Well, and I have a big, I don't know about y'all, but I have a big pet peeve about pieces that they put on the list and then they take off the list. Like if it was good enough to put on the list, it should stay on the list for good. Like whether people play it or not, that's up to the public. That's up to that director. But if you thought that a piece was good enough to put on the list, it needs to stay on the list. Don't take it off, because there was a year where another director in this district was started to play a piece called Fire Dance, and he had already started working on it, and we got to we went to the high school Christmas concert, and we're sitting there, and he's like, yeah, we started last week on our song Fire Dance for UIL and everything, and I was like, wait a second, and I checked, and I turned around and said, hey man, I go, that piece isn't on the list anymore. And he goes, what? And I go, they took that off the list back in July. I was like, this year. And he goes, I just wasted a week and a half of now granted, you could say, well, you should have checked the list, but that piece was on the list for years.
He's obviously a veteran teacher.
Yeah, he was a veteran teacher. It's been on there for years. I played it my first year here, and then they just up and take it off. And so I take exception to that a little bit. If it is just a absolute poorly written piece, fine. But then my question goes, why was it on the list in the beginning?
Something like that happened to me, and I got really lucky because my off-the-list piece was on the list. I had the day saved, and so that was my very first year of teaching. There was a mentor that was assigned to me from the district, and she helped me put the program together, and I knew better. I checked it, but I just was like, I checked some of the songs that I had picked, but the ones that she recommended, like she had a list of all the grade 1s, all the grade 2s that she thought, would be good to look at, and I even told Evan when he got here, I said, you always check the entries. Yeah. Do not, even if I tell you, oh, this is a grade 2, assume I'm wrong and check. So that was
Double
a good
check.
lesson for me my first year of teaching. I remember just like crying, like, oh my gosh, you're not going to have time to learn other piece. And then I got very lucky that my off the list piece was on the list. But yes, why do they do that?
I don't
For us, sometimes a song will get taken off the list because there is a some kind of like, what's the word? Discrimination, or like a bad lyric, like some kind of, I know we've had some stuff taken off the PML that had some bad hidden meanings, and so they took those
Interesting.
off the PML. But for y'all, what would be the reasoning for taking a piece off?
I don't know. I mean, the only thing I could think of is maybe,
Just that they're making room for new pieces.
but they don't. That's
You can add, I think.
yeah. They're not.
Never
The only thing I could think of is if like there was significant. And again, I always say like if there's significant errors in the piece, why was it put in the beginning on the
Yeah, that
list?
should have been caught
But
first.
but like if there's like publishing errors, or if the composer like or arranger like arranged the same piece but a better version of it, then they just basically. But like I haven't ever seen them take a piece off the list and put it back with the same piece just with a newer edition or a version or whatever. Usually they take it off and
That's it.
take it all down the road. But that's interesting. Yeah. And I told her I was like, man, I really would like to kind of go through, because we play a lot of 1s and 2s in this district, and go through and go, okay, let's make a list of the easy grade 1s, medium grade 1s, hard grade 1s, do the same for 2s. That way you can even go, okay, I need a medium grade 2 with a hard grade 1, or I need this group is this, that, and the other, so I need an easy 1 and an easy 2. And that way you almost are narrowing down your search, because I know whenever I go look at JW Pepper online, which I don't know if y'all know, they have specific, like on JW Pepper, a spot on their website that lists all the pieces by grade. Okay, some people don't know.
Don't trust it. Always fact check.
Oh yeah, no,
Not
yeah,
sure what happened to
Yeah,
Am's
they may
card.
not.
yeah. but yeah, I mean, I would, that way at least you can have a kind of a smaller. Or instead of looking for 200 grade 1s, you're only looking at 75 or 50 of them or whatever. Okay, so our last segment, when we come back, we're going to talk about why you are hearing us speak on a Monday on MLK Day and why we were here. So we'll be back in just a second with our last segment on why is this podcast happening on MLK Day when everybody else around us is at home. Okay, so we are here. It is MLK Day, January 20th. We had an in-service. The morning of it was talking about AI, Chat GPT and all that kind of stuff, which I think all of us here use it to some capacity. And we can talk about that here in a second. And then we had to do an assignment on our home campus, which we did, but it didn't take as long as we thought it was going to take. And so we decided this would be a good time to have like our first little meeting of minds here. So we're just going to go. I just want to ask y'all, the three of y'all, what are some things that y'all have? And we could just start with Abbey and kind of go around the table. What are some of the things that y'all have used like AI for? What did you use specifically, and then what did you use it for in your, whether it's administrative task, teaching, personal, whatever. Just kind of give your thoughts on AI from this kind of stuff that we learned this morning. Abbey?
So I have, both of us, we've been playing around with the Canva
Spells
AI,
everything wrong.
the image creator, and it's pretty hilarious. Some of the image results that it'll come up with, because it's not very good at spelling words correctly.
Especially bonnet.
Yeah, Bointet was
Yes.
one of the
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
ways it
Not
spelled
even
it.
close, bro.
But we were trying to come up with a different logo for our beginner band binder covers, and the one we ended up going with, I mean, it's fine. I wish that it could be a little more like punchy looking. Like we have a really
That's what next year's
cool band logo that Trenton created. What, last year, 2 years ago?
Actually, I think it was like 3 years ago.
Okay. And so that's what we put on the older kids binder. So we wanted to, make something that was just for the beginners. So we've used Canva for that. I haven't used Canva AI creation stuff for our, what do they call it, concert programs yet, but that might be something I could use it for.
Abby is the band department's
I'm the Canva queen.
Yeah. So she
at least self-appointed.
Yeah, self-appointed. So she asked the first time, she was like, "Do you want me to make the program?" Please, yes. That's something I no longer have to do, because I mean I did it for the last 8 years or 5 years or whatever, and so now she's, yes, please do it. If you know more about Canva than
I
me,
love
please,
doing it. It's fun.
please.
And so I've also used just recently, like last week, Chat GPT to help me create like an outline for a reference letter for a friend who asked for one. And so that really helped me because it was able to use professional lingo that, I mean, I would have come up with eventually on my own, but it laid it out so nicely, so quick. It took like 30 seconds. So
Done.
that
Move on
was
with life.
nice. And I was able to like, okay, I wouldn't say something like that, so I'm going to delete like these sentences and, format it to be something that sounds like me talking, not a robot that created it.
Evan?
Yeah, no, I'm always trying to find new crazy ways to incorporate things. I always go to Courtney with new ideas, be like, hey, I think we should try this random thing that I came up with at midnight last night. Let's see how it goes tomorrow. So a lot of that started with, we started a music literacy journal through like pages for an assignment for the campus, and then we just kind of ran with it. Now that we have the Schoolworks app, it's easier for the kids to go in and edit it. And then I use Chat GPT a lot when like we have subs coming in, and we're like, if we're having assignments that are going on, or we have like The Sound of Music or something that they're watching, doing guided movie questions with that, or doing like disciplinary assignments. We have like take home detentions that if a student is acting out in class or too many tardies or something, that it helped make an assignment to hold them accountable for their first step of discipline before it goes into an office referral or something of that matter, where they have to answer all the questions and reflect on what they're actually doing and performing in class-wise. But yeah, no, a lot of Chat GPT, I love it. A lot of the things that we use today I would like to use more in the future for making class review games or other things, but looking into it more.
Well, there was, half of that stuff that we were looking at today had like a billion different like subcategories that you could do to make all sorts of like lesson plans or a presentation or this, that, or the other. So I'm going to have to go. I'm not doing anything tomorrow or Wednesday because we don't have school because of snow here in the Houston area. That's right. You heard me. Yeah, we're all excited. Like nobody was watching the weather harder than the teachers around here, yes. And so we're all like, we start seeing, and I know y'all, I know I was like, you start seeing like such and such is closed, such and such, and we're like, okay.
Is it gonna be my school?
Yeah, is it gonna be my school? Who's next? Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then you get the, we got the email. You start texting about, we got the email. No school. So that, but yes. So Chat GPT and Canva, Chat GPT, and I'm sure, like you said, you'll probably figure out how to use some more.
We
of that
use
stuff.
a lot of pages right now for like that through the iPad apps for our digital assignments and stuff that we do.
Courtney, what about you?
So Evan definitely takes the lead on that. Like he is really great at coming up with ways to make things that I've been teaching a lot more interesting. So it's been really fun being able to collaborate with him. Today,
You or her Chat GPT? She just goes, "Hey, do this," and
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah, he's really creative, and he'll find like really fun ways to make things like even more engaging for the students. But something I learned today that I'm really excited to use is that I really like using Bookits for review, especially when like something's going wrong, like the phone's ringing or someone's
Right.
taking care of something.
Ding
or
dong,
there's-
please send this student down to the office. Thank you.
Yeah, like let's just say that there's some kind of like an administrator wants to come talk to you, and Evan's doing another lesson on the side, and you're like, oh, what can I do to keep the kids busy? Well, you can pop a Bookit up there really quick, and it keeps the students engaged, reviewing while you're taking care of maybe some other kind of task. And I would just go on Bookit and search really quick for like note values quiz. And there has been a couple times where I pulled one made up by another teacher where there was a couple mistakes, and I'm like, so I'm always telling myself I need to sit down and make a bunch of, these Bookit assignments. Well, AI will do that for you. And then you can go through and proofread all of them. So maybe with my snow day, I'll make a couple of Bookit assignments just to have, ready to go for when something goes on,
yeah.
or if he's out sick,
You know,
and
you
I'm,
flip
like,
a
by
you,
myself,
you
the
flip a
phone's
light
ringing.
switch and make it a fire, and we all have to leave the building.
No, that's my favorite pastime. My favorite pastime.
So yeah, I need to use even more. And then I've used Chat GPT to just help with communication, making what I want to say sound more professional. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually obviously ChatGPT is the first one. I think that's like the godfather of AI.
Yeah, it's kind of
I feel like
the one.
GPT as the godfather because everybody uses that. But obviously use that. Which I've tried. I can't wrap my mind around why Canva wants to spell everything wrong, even when I put it as it's correct. But try that. I think I did one thing for a Christmas concert that it spelled everything correctly the first time and it looked pretty, and so we saved that. But then like today for that assignment, I tried it because that it's called what's it called? Goblin what?
Goblin Tools.
Yeah.
Goblin Tools. Okay, it's Goblin Tools. It's a web base. You don't need an app. You can just go Goblin Tools. Just type it in Google. But you can once you get to the web page, you have to click on the formalize like tab at the top, and then you can put your email in or whatever, say whatever, type whatever, and then it has this cool little tab where you can make it sound more professional, less professional, which I don't know why, more sarcastic. That one's hilarious. If you're ever sending an email or something to a friend, write it in this website and then put it as more sarcastic, and then there's a little like
Spice level.
5 spices all the way.
Yeah, and you can make it like the more spicy, the more in depth, and more like more sarcastic, or the more professional it'll make it, or whatever. And so like Evan's like, I don't send anything without 5 chili peppers, full spice.
5 spice. The
Yeah.
most spice Ohio has ever seen in its life.
But yeah, that website's pretty good. I like that one, and so I might use that one in the future. Just but I've also used ChatGPT for like podcasting names, like finding my name here. Notes and Notables was with that, and different topics and all that kind of stuff. So we're trying here. And it's hard for me. I don't know about y'all, but it's hard for me to really dive into technology, because if they're doing technology, they're not playing their instruments, and if they're not playing their instruments, they're not getting any better. Like, sorry, but that's just bottom line. If you're not playing the music's not getting any better, And so trying to find time and ways to, like, maybe you do it as a warm up or an exit ticket on a Friday or something like that, or you make it a Canvas assignment and do it at home or something like that. Now we can kind of come out with ways. We use in the band world S'more, which isn't really AI, but it is technology based, and for newsletters that we send out periodically to students and parents about the happenings of band. What do you call it? The Bobcat Beats.
No, what was it?
Buzz, Bobcat
Band
Buzz. Yeah.
I think actually Goblin Tools had a feature on there. It might have been a different one because we went through so many today in our training.
Yeah, there was a lot.
There was one of them that you could create
A
a newsletter.
Yeah, and you can just fill it in.
You can just give it all the parameters instead of having to go in and like change things and, oh no, I forgot to update this date on this newsletter. But S'more has been pretty
Yeah, I mean, I liked it
so far.
I liked it. Yeah,
I
that's fine.
haven't found
Yeah.
any issues so far.
All right. Well, thanks, Evan and Courtney, for joining Abby and I on
Thanks for having us.
on this
Thank you so much.
on this episode. We plan, or at least I plan, on doing this again to kind of talk about, like, probably towards the end of the year, talk about like the end of the year, and at some point I want to have a legit conversation about pedagogy and like how you teach stuff in choir land. Not just what you teach, but how you teach it. For me personally, because I'd like to know. But because I know there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat in music world, and I just want to know. Well, maybe not you, Evan, because you're probably used to that in Ohio.
Yeah.
But not cats, though, with like sheep, and lambs and whatnot.
Yes, sir.
And he was talking earlier about what was it? Beans being knee high by like summer.
Oh
corn.
yeah, no. If corn's knee high by the 4th of July, you're gonna have a good harvest.
All right, so all you northern people, just keep in mind, you heard it here, or southern people that go up to north for 4th of July. If you see corn and it's knee high, you know that they're going to have a good fall and good summer. All right, everybody. So we'll keep in touch and get ready for the next episode of Notes and Notables. Peace.
This has been another episode of Notes and Notables with your host, Trenton Petrie. Join us next time as we dive into another set of educational topics with a brand new guest. But until then, school's out.